You have a young player, 20 years old, coming off the back of a very bad injury, and you can't afford to give him the kind of game time he needs. It's just a really difficult one for everybody to manage.
Ansu Fati was once the star boy for FC Barcelona, but after several injuries and a failed loan move last season, well, he's only played 150 minutes this season in a team that desperately needs depth on the wing, and now he is injured again. So I think the Ansu Fati experiment at Barcelona might be over. Okay, that was a little dramatic, but I feel like this entire situation is very disappointing, and that deserves that drama. When Ansu Fati went to Brighton last season, hopes were high that he would figure it out there, away from the limelight, and put it together under one of the most exciting managers in European football in Roberto De Zerbi. But either due to the rise of João Pedro or Ansu's own unimpressive play, he barely showed for the Seagulls throughout most of the season, and even when he did, he had trouble affecting the play, much like this season so far under Hansi. Now, to be fair, this season it was a little bit different, even though there might have been a few positions where, in theory, Ansu could have shown under the German manager. And one of the first reasons it was so different, or rather unfortunate, and didn't work out relative to how Brighton worked, well, is that he was injured, according to Transfermarkt, from July until September. So he wasn't around for that crucial stage where Flick was finding chemistry in his players and instilling his way of play into them, which we know is critical to the players' success in this system right now. Just look at Frankie de Jong. He was out injured all summer, and when he came back, he looked really off of it. Now, that's probably partially because he's fighting a bit of the ankle injury. It's still there, it's not fully healed, but also because he missed that critical building stage, just like Ansu Fati. On top of that, Hansi Flick clearly likes to be very careful with players that are at risk of being injured or are just returning from injury. We saw that with Frankie as well as Balde, Lamine, and even Pedri so far this season. So even when Ansu Fati became available again, it was unlikely that he was going to get a big opportunity for a while until he proved his fitness to Flick, which is partially why he got so few minutes this season, even when he was available or around. And then he got injured again and never got that chance to prove that to him anyway, that he could go without getting injured. He's still out right now, though he should be back soon, I don't know, but will likely go through that slow reacclimation stage where he barely gets a run out in Blaugrana before 2024 comes to a close. And on top of that, another issue is that he was thrown back into the limelight, exactly what he was trying to get away from in England last season. He's in Barcelona and is now expected to find his form again, to perform, or at least most of us hoped he would, which would be incredibly difficult, even though there in theory should be great opportunities for Fati under Flick. See, the setup with the German coach is very aggressive, but it also creates a lot of chances for forwards who, more importantly, are almost always very narrow, focusing more on runs around the defense instead of being a dribbly boy, ignoring Lamine, of course. And that should line up well with what Ansu Fati has become over the years. When he first dropped in the first team, he was much more like Lamine, taking players on and creating a lot of chances out of relatively nothing, often finishing them with some of the greatest clinicality I've ever seen from a Barcelona player, but now he's a lot different. He's lost a little bit of that first step acceleration, or at least it feels that way, as he struggles to create some space when dribbling at defenders, trying to put in a cross and things like that. And he's become much more of a runner that can link up well, kind of like we have seen from Rafinha develop into over the past year or two. So Ansu should fit in maybe in that Rafinha role if he could only remain fit. In another world, I think Ansu comes back and shines for this Hansi Flick side, deputizing and sharing minutes with Rafinha on the left, and likely sometimes even through the middle with Olmo. He finds his form again, fills in spaces, and finds his footing because this team creates such an insane amount of chances that the media would be less critical of him for missing them. There's just less to complain about when you get 3 chances and you score the last one than when you get 2 chances and you don't score any. But he just can't stay fit, and now we're seeing reports that since a lot of the team is coming back from injury, specifically Araujo, potentially Christensen, Olmo, and fan favorite Ferran Torres, well, both Ansu Fati and Eric Garcia have apparently been told by Hansi that they're going to struggle to get minutes for the remainder of the season, even if they are both 100% healthy. Fingers crossed that it could even happen. And that opens up the door for an exit in the upcoming winter transfer window. Now, there's a little bit of hope for him at Barcelona, if just a tiny bit, and that's enough for me because I desperately would like to see him turn it around. For one, he has a small sliver of time before the January window opens where he could get minutes if he comes back when he's supposed to around the Leganés game on the 15th of December. Well, if he does well, maybe he puts in a few clinical finishes together and makes Hansi think again about his position. But honestly, that's only going to work if the second part of this scheme falls into place. Ferran Torres flopping for a while. I know all of you love him, and this might not be a popular take and would be very upset if he doesn't do well, but if he doesn't play well, that opens up the door slightly for Ansu, especially if Ansu's also doing well at the same time. It's clear right now that Ferran Torres and Pau Victor are next in line going forward, as well as Fermin in the middle and even on the left. So it will be very hard for Ansu to break those holds, but I can see it most being possible for him to turn it around if Ferran can't put it together. Fans are already so critical of him. He's also 2 years older than Ansu, and the club doesn't have this cultura connection, around him. For many of us, Ansu is still that special one, the kid that brought so much joy to our hearts and minds when we needed it the most. And so I think we, and potentially the Barcelona board, the guys actually making the decisions in theory, could have a weak spot and refrain from selling him this window if those things open up for him. But the truth is, I genuinely think this is his last chance, and it's not a good one. I don't think they're going to sell Ferran in the winter instead, because I think we would have heard more about it by now, and Hansi, being the careful man he is with the reintroduction of players, well, I'm not optimistic about Fati finding his feet again, even if he can get minutes before the window opens. But honestly, I think we might even be going about this in the wrong way. I don't know if it's in his best interest, Ansu's best interest, to stay at Barca any longer. We've seen what the media and the pressure of the club, of the badge, can do to a man time and time again, with Ansu being a prime example of all of that. And sure, he got the loan opportunity last season, but with the naturally temporary feel of loan moves, I can see it being difficult for a player, especially one of Ansu's prior reputation, to have difficulty taking that step when there is still so much going on. Right, so let him step away. Start somewhere completely new and figure out how to break into a team, build up his fitness while finding his understanding with a new coach in a new system for a long time, probably in a different league, and get him there for several years. It's okay if it takes that much time. But then that's just getting to the next problem with this whole mess, and that's that it's January, where clubs like to make risky, sometimes forced moves for players to fill holes and gaps where they may be now, without always looking to the future of how these players might fit into the club and what they're trying to build going forward. Barca is a prime example of that, but that's just compounded with the fact that Barca may be forcing him out so much that they move him to a club where maybe he doesn't even want to be. And that just spells more problems and issues for a kid who has gone through so much in his exciting yet short career. I don't know what's going to happen. I just speculate a lot, as I always do, but I just hope he figures it out somewhere and can play good football again, so we can be happy that he's happy and watch him play ball again with that smile on his face. But no matter what, he's always going to be a Barca boy to me. And also, guys, we have a crazy year, so many ups and downs with Barcelona, some with Ansu, and I just want to thank you all for coming on the journey with me. We've built a great community here. You guys are awesome, and if you haven't subscribed, just check it out. Consider it, because you want to make it sure you're here for next year. I've got even better stuff coming out. And plus, with Hansi Flick, I know this is going to be a crazy little ride this season. Hopefully it goes well, but I'm just really excited to pump out more stuff and get some crazy videos out for you guys. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for sticking along. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and watching all the videos. And yeah, let me know what you think will happen with Ansu Fati. Peace.